Oh, and then we are good there. And then we can see your screen, Tanya. So the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, and my apologies again for the delay. We definitely did do a dry run with RJ, but for some reason, the best laid plans of mice and men. So I apologize again, but welcome. Looking forward to spending some time with you today and to talk about AstraZeneca. Now, I do have a few slides that kind of give you an overview of AstraZeneca specifically and the different areas of work that we cover. But also, I want it to be as integrated as possible and interactive as well. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to jump in. I'm very flexible. If you want me to go through very linearly all the slides that I have that you see on the screen, or if you need me to jump around, I want you to be in control of the information you want me to impart. Because have no fear, AstraZeneca is a favorite topic of mine, and I'm happy to take it from any angle or perspective because I have dissected it that many times before in the past. So just let me know what works for you. Um, but of course, today we're going to talk about AstraZeneca, and I can put a slideshow from the beginning, so I won't be able to see any comments that you make. So please, if you need to jump in and interrupt, you won't be throwing me off by any means. So, um, so I'm Tanya Murray, if I haven't introduced myself. My role here at AstraZeneca is a talent acquisition business partner, specifically in the form of university relations. So I work very closely with universities that are in academia, giving us the workforce of tomorrow so that we can be in a proactive stance to tell where our business is going, and that you as students can decide where your vocation after your theoretical training into the real world of pharma and how you can apply. And our goal is always to find meaningful work. Um, so AstraZeneca as a whole, we're inspired by our purpose and our values. We're transforming the future of healthcare by unlocking the power of what science can do. We truly start there, and our focus is always on the patient. We really want to see our portfolio of healthcare solutions in the form of medicines truly impact the patient journey for the better. And so we push the boundaries of science to deliver life-changing medicine. So we are a pharmaceutical company. We're also a growth and leadership company. We're a global organization. So those of you in business, Six Sigma, supply chain, legal, we call enabling, which is legal, human resources, all the way down to the bench, all the way down to discovery of new medicines and the delivery of medicines and the manufacturing of medicines. So we have a broad scope that we're covering today. And so at AstraZeneca, we have adopted what we call our Bold Ambition 2030. So that means in the next 5 years, being that we're in 2025, our bold ambition is to be pioneers in science, to lead in our disease areas, and transform patient outcomes. And so back in 2017 is when we first delivered what we refer to as our Bold Ambition 2030, where we're going to deliver 20 new medicines. And I'm happy to report that we're at 11 of the 20. So in the next 5 years, we're going to be exhausted. So I hope you're ready to come on board to help us. And it interestingly enough, in 2017, we set a goal to be an $50 billion company in revenue, and we actually hit that goal in 2021. So we had to now shift it again to challenge ourselves to 2030 to be an $80 billion company. And then we've also ventured to be carbon negative. We're going to be, by the end of this year, we're going to be one of the few organizations that will have a 100% electric vehicle fleet for our sales reps, all of those that are in the field. And that's just one of the areas we've actually partnered with innovative manufacturing equipment companies to change methane gas into usable energy to run our plants and to in the production of our medications, as well as transporting the vehicles, the trucks that transport our vehicles from one point to the next. So, so this is truly our commitment to being carbon negative. And so here are the therapeutic areas that we're leading. So, of course, I've made some pretty big claims, but that's not to say that other companies are not doing great things. But we are focusing in our portfolio on 5 specific sectors, and that's where we expect and plan to execute on our goals. In the area of oncology, and then in the area of biopharmaceuticals, which is technically everything in our portfolio that's not related to the disease of oncology or cancer. And then we have rare disease. Every company will have its own definition of rare disease, but the term itself in the title, it relates to very rare, if not small populations of people that are still suffering with devastating diseases, and we're committed to finding solutions for them as well. So within our biopharmaceutical, which is our largest sector, is our cardiovascular, renal, and metabolism role. You hear people refer to it as CVRM, and then respiratory and immunology, so asthma, allergies, and then vaccines and immune therapies. One of the things, because early on in the COVID, AZ was not authorized to distribute in the US, but in fact, we're still in the top 3 of medicines and vaccines that were provided globally because our product was one of the few products that did not require the special refrigeration that the Pfizer and the other companies' products required. So therefore, we were able to distribute our product to sub-Saharan Africa, to the Middle East, and some of those in those tropical and desert areas where refrigeration and product stability was going to be a primary. And then rare disease, we introduced our rare disease division with our acquisition of Alexion Pharmaceuticals in Boston. And so that's the full picture of what our portfolio consists of. And this is how you can see how by percentage what the revenue is. So oncology accounts for 40% of the total portfolio. And as you can see, the 3 areas of biopharmaceutical combined is equivalent to just the oncology portfolio. So you'll see that they're equally distributed. And then, of course, you have your rare disease and then any other medicines. And then by region, you'll see the US accounts for 42% of the revenue. Europe accounts for 21% of our revenue. And then we have emerging markets, which could be Asia Pac and Latin America and South America. And then the rest of the world accounts for 11% of our revenue. And so here you'll see this is where our global reach. These cities that are called out right now are where our operations hubs are. And I can tell you this slide needs to be updated because as of middle of last year, we have expanded to Lisbon, to Barcelona, as well as to Chennai, India, and with plans again to expand again operationally to Malaysia. So for now, Gothenburg and Cambridge, as you know, AstraZeneca was a combination of a pharmaceutical company, Astra and Zeneca. Zeneca was the UK, Astra was the Swedish company. So we still have lots of senior leaders and operational hubs in these two areas. And then Gaithersburg, with the acquisition of MedImmune around 2008, 2010 is when we took over their campus in Gaithersburg, Maryland. But then with Alexion, we've also expanded our reach into Seaport in Boston. So just giving you a high overview of where a lot of these roles are in the field. I know a lot of you are all over the contiguous United States. You do for any home office roles that are considered like corporate roles or headquarter roles, you would have to be in one of these areas: Gothenburg, Cambridge, Boston, Gaithersburg, Shanghai. Our field employees primarily are at the plants, which would be the R&D centers, and then these green dots are plants, as well as everywhere else would be if you're in sales or a medical science liaison. Those are the individuals that are typically run in remote offices, but these locations by this map are where the hubs for the different functions enabling corporate manufacturing sites are. And so looking at operations as a career pathway, global operations, we play a critical role in the development, manufacturing, the testing, and the delivering of our medicines around the world. And that's primarily what operations in pharma. And that's not unique to AstraZeneca. If you were to apply at AbbVie, at Novartis, at Eli Lilly, Roche, this is basically what operations consists of, the focus of the area. R&D obviously would be in the discovery of new medicines, and then operations comes into the developing, the manufacturing, the testing, and the delivery of the medicines. Any questions so far? Tell me if I'm just being too top down. As I mentioned, I really want it to be interactive. So again, just giving you how everything interrelates as it relates to pharmaceutical. Most people are familiar with obviously going to the drugstore and getting a drug as a patient because you have a disease, an illness, or some symptom that you need to address. But then, if the pharmaceutical is a business, you understand the sales and the marketing. But then, you're starting at the R&D stage, drug discovery, the development, the tactical supply planning, the manufacturing, the distribution, and then there you have the slow. So a lot of people, um, we're not really patient facing because prescription medication requires a healthcare practitioner to recommend that drug. And so obviously the patient is always our ultimate goal, but we're interacting mostly with healthcare professionals and different ruling bodies from a compliance and manufacturing, such as the FDA, the NIH, as it relates to the development, the distribution, and the testing of our medications. And again, just giving you some more input as to operations. Again, if you're in the audience and you don't feel like your area of study is being represented, please just let us know, and I'll be happy to tell you whether, not this based as opposed to truly STEM related, but I don't want to minimize the impact that in a STEM career path or study path, that there is definitely a place for you at AstraZeneca as well. And again, this is just some of our locations that I kind of touched on before. In the US, you're looking at Philadelphia, Redwood City in Mount Vernon, Frederick, Maryland, Coppell, Texas, Puerto Rico, and different areas. So software engineering is definitely part of operations, and so those would have to be in a hub such as Gaithersburg, or Boston, or Cambridge, or Chennai, India, or Barcelona. But then also at the plants as well, because when it comes to machinery and the operating of production lines, IT and computer engineering plays a big role in that as well. Yes, cybersecurity is included in a home office role, so you would most likely have to be either in Cambridge or Boston or Gaithersburg, Maryland. So I won't be speaking about any specific roles, but of course, meeting with me today, you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, but also as it relates to current roles. We certainly have several roles that are open at the moment and encourage you to visit our careers page and put in your keyword searches so that you can find those open roles. And so going back to our commitment to sustainability, these are the things um, that you will see related to that. So I see people asking about employment. Give me 1 second. So going back to um, how to apply, one of the things that AstraZeneca offers that we have as far as our um, formatting of our job adverts, we that is consistent with all of our postings. You'll see roles and responsibility, you'll see minimum requirements, and then you'll see preferred requirements. So one of the things that I would always encourage people that are exploring careers, first of all, to go to our AZ, which is AstraZeneca.com/careers. And that's where you can be able to put locations, you can put keyword searches, but each posting will be similar in format with the minimum. And now I call out the minimum requirements because you'll see each of them, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I believe these are 8 or 9 bullet points. Each of these on the minimum requirements are deal breakers, just to let you know. So these are minimum, they're not negotiable, and that's what you want to pay attention to. Now, in this case, this role is an insights and analytics associate, and you'll see obviously the degree that you must have a degree. And again, as a minimum requirement, meaning on the day of hire. So you can't be hired in August and let me know that you're going to get a degree in December. If your role starts in September, you have to be able to affirm that you have the required education that was called out in the posting. And then just to show you the slight differentiation between this. So this is again an insights and analytics, someone that does forecasting about our product performance and our pricing of our products directly. And you'll see where it says 5+ years of experience in pharmaceuticals. So if you tell me, oh, I don't have 5 years in pharmaceutical, I have 5 years in government contracting, then you don't meet the minimum requirements. And I'm not saying that to be a detractor, to not attract you to AstraZeneca, to just be clear about what it is that you're applying to. So you'll see here the preferred, which is 3 bullet points. Those you can either meet none of them or all 3 of them. So in this case, you see where it says 5 years of experience in oncology forecasting. So they're calling out a very specific function. But if you have 5 years of experience in pharmaceutical and not 5 years in oncology, then you're still eligible to apply to this role. Was that helpful? I know someone talked about if there are any, the interview process. So first and foremost, applying to the role that is commensurate with your skills and ability is what's going to be important to ensure that you get to the interview. And so this posting I showed was just as an example. These are not all the jobs that I have. As I mentioned, I won't be speaking about specific roles that are open. I'll encourage you to go to the AstraZeneca website and find the role that is specific to your area of interest and your pathway of skills and functioning. If you're an accountant, if you're interested in sales, by all means, you'll find opportunities there. And if you don't see anything there, we don't hold anything back as far as our postings. If our postings are not listed, that means we don't have any positions available. But that doesn't mean next week or next month we won't have a role that fits your background specifically. So that's why you can set up searches within AstraZeneca and with keywords, and you'll be notified as soon as a role opens up for you. So going back and just keeping on track with the sustainability. And then, of course, we believe that AstraZeneca is a great place to work. We are always committed to inclusion and diversity, to learning and development. We're definitely a culture of learning. We never stop learning. And then inclusion and diversity, more beyond the physical and demographics that most people refer to IND, we also believe in diversity of thought. We truly believe that not just one perspective is going to basically solve for eradicating cancer in our lifetime, which is definitely one of our goals in oncology. We need many different perspectives. One of the things that we're proud of in reaching is that patient equity. Many people may not realize clinical trials up until in the last 10 or 15 years did not focus on gender or race. And therefore, a lot of the details about whether a drug is going to be effective or not, or harmful or safe, did not take into consideration different cultures and different ethnic groups. And so certainly that's how we believe that our drugs have been able to reach more people faster and more effectively, is because of our commitment to, in the R&D stage, being sure that all of our research and all of our clinical trials represent the general population that would technically be prescribed our drugs. And one of the things that we're very proud of, I can say today that we have over 50% of our senior middle manager roles are women. 83% of our employees feel that we do have a speak up culture where everyone has a say. And of course, 81% of our employees agree that employees are valued for the diverse opinions and thinking compared with the pharma norm, which is tends to hover around 73%. So we're definitely invested in psychological safety and belonging. We're definitely in new insights and perspectives that fuel innovation, and we believe that that's part of our key to success. And these are just some of the awards that we've been recognized with for our efforts. It's been a great place to work, a great place for women, top 10 performer, as well as equality and the rest of our focus and endeavors within every aspect of our community. And so, of course, as an employee, definitely we talk about that continuous learning, that high potential for talent to ensure employees are prepared for future roles. We support our leaders and our managers on how to identify talent, how to develop that talent, and how to stretch that talent for expansion as well as vertical movement within the organization. And then going back, I know a lot of people were talking about where they would be able to use. So these are just a high level chart of some of the our plans within the U.S. Engineering, business, technology, and the sciences, which would be the bench scientists. So these are just a high level view of some of the locations across the country where you would be able to truly see where you think you might fit in. Um, and you're looking at, so business, of course, is everything that relates to management, supply chain, procurement, everything that would fall under those. And then you have again the sciences, and for us, she is that safety, health and safety, is what she stands for here at AZ. So just a little bit to talk about the job. We talked about the job postings. We talked about how to read the job adverts at AZ as far as minimum and preferred requirements. And then, as those of you that are closer to graduation or attaining either a first degree or a second degree, recognize that the job search could be a little bit daunting just because of the competition. But I truly believe that if you are prepared and truly are a fit and you're looking in the right industries that support your skill set and the functions that you're gaining more insight and expertise in, that you shouldn't have a hard time finding a role. Sometimes it could seem like throwing spaghetti at the wall, but searching for a job is not a one-time event. It does involve networking, and then technology should complement your resume, not substitute your effort. That's where a lot of people are missing the mark because they're having AI generated resumes or answers to questions that don't truly reflect or authentically reflect yourself. And you might be getting silent response as a result of that. So you still have to bring your authentic self, but you can still use technology. I'll go into this next. Uh, so using this previous job advert, right? I simply put this into Chat GPT, and I asked it to tell me what the top three functions are in that job posting. And here's what yielded for me: developing and maintaining and leading product specific forecasting models, identifying business issues, monitoring the competitive landscape and market trends. So, again, this is how you can use technology to help you to understand, do I truly have relevant work experience that I could hold a conversation with a hiring manager on these three areas? Only you can answer that question for yourself. But notice it says these functions are crucial for driving business decisions. And remember, the role is an insights and analytics associate that does forecasting and pricing models. So these are the things that are required. So I encourage you, if you see a job posting that you question if you would be a fit for, these are the things that ChatGPT can help you with, or AI in general, where you can but you have to ask them to based on the job advert, list the top three functions that were presented in that job advert, and that will give you a clue if you are a low fit, meaning high risk, or a high fit, meaning that you fit all of the criteria perfectly. And then, of course, the other thing that's new and in the marketplace is pay transparency. I strongly encourage you all to do the research on your experience and your worth and value to the world of work. A lot of companies specifically now that fall into the different states that are adopting U.S. pay transparency laws, they will post the pay range. Now, of course, there is always going to be a range, a left number and a right number. The right number is usually the max. If you immediately believe, in this case, let's just use an example of 80 to 100,000. If you're a new grad with very little real world relevancy as far as work experience, you would be setting yourself up for disappointment if you assumed that your salary expectation should be at the 100,000. I would challenge you to say anytime there's a range that you would shoot for the middle, because you have every company that is structured as far as taxes go, as far as career development, they need to give you a runway. If you immediately max out at the range, it might seem like, oh, that means that you're a great negotiator if they went straight to the 100,000, but then don't be disappointed at the end of the year when they tell you, oh, there's no merit increase for you because you're already at the max. So these are things you want to look at the big picture and not just a money grab, because that's what's going to help you in securing your role and truly understanding your worth and your value to the organization. And if you're applying to a role that you far exceed the expectations of the minimum and preferred, then you're probably not the right person for that role. And so anticipating and expecting an even higher salary than the range that was presented is also setting yourself up for disappointment. And so remember, companies' base pay philosophy and how to position themselves for career advancement. So knowing this knowledge, taking not just one company's experience or your last company's experience into consideration to determine what your worth is what is going to set you up for a long and satisfying career with any organization. And of course, pay transparency also promotes trust between the employees. When candidates and employees clearly understand how compensation decisions are made, they feel empowered to engage in more open and collaborative workplace discussions. Um, and so that's a little bit about AZ, and I'm happy to field any Q&A at this point, RJ.
Yeah, we had a couple questions come through the chat. First one is, what is the interview process like at AZ?
So the interview process first, if you apply to a role and you, as I mentioned, meet the minimum requirements, then typically you're going to meet with a recruiter or a talent acquisition partner who's going to further assess your fit and confirm your experience. And then typically from there, the hiring manager. So you think about the search as a funnel. So if there's 20 applicants, the talent acquisition partner is going to attempt to get it down to 10. And then they're probably going to get it down to 8 that they'll send to the hiring manager. And then the hiring manager is most likely going to pick 5. And they'll most likely actually interview 3 and be able to make a decision from there. So each one of them, so you want to be sure that you know how to tailor your story, right? As you know, as we mentioned, I'm in a scientific organization, but I chose the pathway of HR for a reason. So if you, as a scientist, speak to me as a TAC partner and just keep throwing a lot of scientific information at me, and not truly trying to understand or assess my level of understanding, do you truly know your audience? Are you somebody that we could put in front of investors that you would definitely relate and connect to those employees? So I always say, know your audience. You get more technical as you get closer to the business.
Perfect. Next question that came in, how is the company affected now with the US is no longer part of the World Health Organization?
Yeah, that's definitely a new challenge that we're going to be facing. But that's one of the beauty, I think, of the fact that we are already a global organization and we have a presence in most of those countries, and we're still committed to servicing our patients all around the country, I mean, globally. And so not being a part of the World Health will pose some challenges, but it does not interrupt our mission.
Awesome. I'm curious to know if there are positions while in school or are they only available after graduation. And I think you had mentioned that on the minimum requirements,
Yes.
but just be I is that set? And I guess my question might be, say they have a degree, does it need to be in that set field, and maybe they're potentially pursuing a degree in the field that they're looking to move into, and maybe the previous degree isn't part of that requirement. It's a minimum requirements, that's what we're looking for, and that's how you're able to move on from there as far as getting into the interview process.
Absolutely. But of course, that's also, I think you're spot on, RJ, but also we we had over 1 million applicants to our roles last year, and um, we definitely posted over 75,000 job opportunities globally. And so in this case that I chose someone that where the minimum requirement was, there are a lot of opportunities where it literally says 0 to 2 years of experience. But as students, I'll caution you in the fact that most look for where it tells you a little bit about the group, because if it's a full-time job, that does not mean that they're going to allow you to take 4-hour lunches so you could take a class at lunch, in the middle of the day or come in late. As a FTE, you're going to work the operating hours of that department, and your personal pursuit of education is going to have to be outside of that.
Awesome. Now, as far as positions, let's say outside of pharmaceuticals or life sciences, or you answered that question, apologies. Are there jobs geared towards recent or soon-to-be MBA graduates that might be available?
So it depends on the scope, right? So for us, we have for our MBAs, that's most likely going to be marketing, most likely going to be procurement, accounting. Those are the areas that we use a lot of MBAs in. And again, uh, you know, there are certainly different sectors of school students where you have some people that are pursuing an MBA, which is separate from what they achieved as in their bachelor's, or is your MBA complementing what you pursued as a bachelor? I give the example. I was at a conference, and I met someone that was pursuing their MBA, but they were an accountant for 8 years, a tax accountant specifically, and they went to school for their MBA and really wanted to pursue healthcare marketing. That's where I told him, I said, I can't tell you how to pursue your dreams, right? But I can tell you the kind of feedback that you'll probably get in this case, where you starting out as a new MBA with healthcare marketing, having never done it before, now you're at 0 years of experience, right? But if you're able to tell that story and tie it back to how you can become a better tax accountant with your MBA and be able to tie those two things together, you become a stronger advocate, and now your earning potential goes up because now you're in 8+ years of tax accounting with an advanced degree and learnings and methodology. But as someone with a master's or MBA and zero work experience to go by it, you're now entering as a early career person with no years of experience, and your salary will be commensurate with that.
Thank you. And I have a follow-up. You had mentioned just the total number of applicants that you might see for a set position. How might an individual stand out from the application process? Are there certain things that maybe you look for going through the application process that intrigues you about a potential candidate that maybe somebody can do? Is it just the way that they structure their resume? What recommendations might you have for that to have somebody stand out during the application process?
Absolutely. And so that's what, for me, someone that stands out is, first of all, there's no such thing as one perfect resume where there's no, one size does not fit all. With that, with technology these days, you can revise your resume. You can edit it slightly, and again, none of this is, am I saying, embellish and tell me something that I want to hear that you don't truly possess as a skill or a function. Let me just put that baseline down there. But in the case of bachelor's, you're in the pharmaceutical industry, if you want to list 10 or 15 skills that you're currently performing at your current employer or previous employer. You might not want to bury that you did work in pharmaceutical or you had pharmaceutical clients on bullet number 15, right? You might want to be sure that you bring that up. If you're if you're submitting your resume to a transportation company, you might want to bury your pharmaceutical experience into bullet 15, right? But for this case, know which ones human nature, we still operate under that old, I know not too many people read newspapers anymore, but above the fold, as we say, so let the relevant information be the first few things. Because first of all, the statistic that has been shared with me time and time again is nowadays nobody really reads anything, right? What do people do? They scan, right? And so you have all of this real estate, and if you're putting all of this superfluous things, and I say superfluous by telling me that you're always on time and you're very organized, that's not the best use of your real estate on your resume, because I don't know any company that recently has advertised for someone that's always late and unorganized, right? Those are minimum, as we call it, pay to play, right? And so, make sure your bullet points speak to, like, again, using this insights and analytics, that it speaks to, it's very clear that you have a degree and that you have the specific degree that they're looking for. If you have a 3-page resume, I wouldn't put that on the third page. I would put it on the first page because that's what they called out. So really it's about placement. And then in the speaking, it's always going to be, how do you tell a story with data? How do you tell a story about your life? This should be the first experience that you have with, a topic that you're very familiar with, is yourself.
Awesome. Just a few more questions. I
Mhm.
want to be respectful of your time, Tanya.
Yeah, sure.
Um, the next one, as far as laboratory information systems sector, are
Mhm.
those types of job opportunities available?
Absolutely. And again, those would be at the manufacturing site and mostly in R&D. We're working with big data. If you think about oncology, where we use a lot from a data science perspective, where we're running a lot of modeling on how, different therapies actually affect tumors at different stages. And so we're using a lot of that technology in that area in predicting life cycle and time, time span in the disease.
Awesome. Um, Tom had a question, and I won't go in deep into it, Tom, just because Tanya might not be familiar with our competency-based model. But say somebody does apply for a position that starts in July and they graduate in June. Is that something that you would recommend waiting until applying and after they actually graduate, or prior to the start of um, that position, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm always going to say it depends, right? So I never want to make it seem like I'm not going to answer the question. In this case, right, we're talking about, again, using the example, the illustration I have on the screen. This calls for a minimum of a bachelor's, and then it calls for a preferred of an MBA, right? So if you apply to this role with a bachelor's, knowing that your MBA is imminent, this is still something you should apply for now. But if the roles were different, where it called for an advanced technical degree or MBA as a minimum requirement, you're going to have to take that risk. I can tell you, positions stay open for maybe 60 days on average. So, what's going to count is on your first day of employment. So if you're hired to start with AZ on February 1, about 2 weeks out from that is when they're going to do the credentialing and background check. And they're going to have to verify that if they called the university to 2 weeks from your start date and ask, does Tom have an MBA? If they don't get a yes, they're not going to bring you on for February 1.
Awesome. Um, if people do have questions moving forward, Tanya, is there an individual that they can reach out to and connect with to ask some of these additional questions? Let's say it is like, hey, here's my full situation. What are some recommendations that you might have? Is there a good place that they can go to?
So certainly, I will encourage you. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. A lot of those, because of course, I would be connected to maybe different people in different parts of AstraZeneca that I could connect you to. So certainly, I would. I do pride myself. If you do look on LinkedIn, you'll see I'm very active and I'm very responsive. But please, I'll be inundated all the time with questions. Make sure that they're questions that you've kind of done your homework before and you're wanting either more information or you weren't able to find what you were looking for. But if you're going to ask me, how do you spell AstraZeneca? I think it would be hard pressed for me to take the time to respond to that email to tell you how to spell AstraZeneca. And I'm using that just as an illustration.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I do want to thank you, Tanya, for jumping in and presenting. I do want to apologize to everybody, just the little late start.
So
Te
sorry. Yes.
technology always pops up. Our dry run was flawless, but obviously
Exactly.
once we jump in here, obviously we see some issues pop up. But thank you everyone for jumping in. Reminder: this session was recorded. It will be sent out. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Also attached to that is a survey. We just asked for your opinion. Should take you no more than 2 minutes. But Tanya, thank you so much for jumping in. We certainly appreciate it. Fantastic information. So if you do have additional questions, make sure you're following up with her. But thank you again for taking the time to jump in and present to our populations here at WGU.
Thank you, RJ, and great work that you guys are doing at WGU.
Awesome. All right, everyone, have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.
Bye bye.